Alright, so I am back, and today we're going to take a look at the Marvel Legends, Spider-Man, Absorbing Man, Build-A-Figure Wave, Ben Reilly Spider-Man. So here he is in his, I was about to say bot mode. I've been doing too much Transformer stuff lately. Need to take a break from Transformers for a minute. Anyway, so here he is. Yeah. Really cool. Obviously, I don't need to do much size comparisons with this guy because it's Spider-Man. You know, he's one of my figures that we do size comparisons with. So yeah. Now, a lot of people, you know, either they don't know much about this character, this particular character, or they don't care for him. For me, I liked him to an extent. It's one of those things. I'll go into it here because these reviews don't take very long. I had to get this figure from the set. Absorbing Man is not one of my characters. I don't care for him, so I'm passing on him. On the whole wave. I'm not gonna buy the whole wave for Absorbing Man. No. No connection to Spider-Gwen. I'll get the Morbius, I'll get the Jack-O-Lantern, and I'll get the Venom. And I can't remember if there's other figures in the line. But Morbius, Jack-O-Lantern, and Venom, I have to get. Oh, and Speed Demon? Is that Speed Demon? I don't even know who the fuck that is, so I'm not wasting $20 on a character I don't know. I have no idea what's up with Spider-Gwen. None whatsoever, so, you know, whatever. But the Ben Reilly Spider-Man, I do know. That showed up Big Bad Toy Store. They had the whole set, or you could buy him individually. So I had to buy him. You know, and I'll wait till I see Jack-O-Lantern in the store. I'm not too thrilled about that Jack-O-Lantern. I prefer the original look because I'm a major fan of Jason Macendale. But I'll get the Jack-O-Lantern just because. And yeah. So, story behind this character, or this character is back in the early-ish 90s, they had this huge popularity in killing off all the main heroes in the comic books. Batman did it with the breaking of the bat. I know he didn't get killed off, but removing the main character somehow from the superhero story and replacing it with someone else. So Batman did it with breaking of the bat. Superman did it with the death of Superman at Doomsday, and then he was replaced in Superman Returns. Was it Superman Returns? The Return of Superman. That trade paperback, which, by the way, is one of the best reads I've ever had comic book wise. Highly recommend that one. Same with the whole breaking of the back story arc. Great. So, of course, they had to do it with Spider-Man, which gave us the Clone Saga. And that was not done as well as I'd like, or how a lot of people would have liked. But anyway, so set him back for a second here. So Spider-Man, I got a little thumbtack to keep them standing on my shelves. So Spider-Man had a clone back in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, because of Green Goblin killed Gwen Stacy, so mad scientist that was in love with her decided to clone Spider-Man instead. One of those kind of stories. It makes perfect sense, comic book wise. So his clone was thought to be dead, but it came back as Scarless Spider. Little educational thing here. So Scarless Spider came back as Scarlet. He came back because he heard Aunt May was dying. So him and Spider-Man started hanging out, and they were doing all their Spider-Man-y things. And then they took a test, and it turns out Scarlet Spider was the clone and Spider-Man was not the real, or no, Spider-Man was the clone, Scarlet Spider was the real Spider-Man. So he takes in Mary Jane, who was pregnant with their daughter, and they took off. They're like, okay, you know what? I'm not Spider-Man anymore. And it was a really good story. The way they built it up over the course of years was working out really well because of the fact that you could see him getting more and more frustrated with villains that kept coming back and coming back and coming back. And it's just like, come on. I want to be done with the superhero gig. You know, I don't want to deal with, you know, Hobgoblin number 7. I don't want to deal with Green Goblin number 4. You know, he was getting really frustrated with all this stuff. And he was starting to contemplate, like, well, you know, what if I just let loose and let these villains have it the way they're trying to let me have it? And you see that in, like, in comics like The Death of the Demo Goblin, where Hobgoblin, Jason McAdale, gets the Kraven the Hunter serum and kills Demogoblin, and then he gets in a fight with Spider-Man, and Spider-Man is just like, you know what? I'm done. And he punches him once and just knocks his jaw off, or breaks his jaw and just knocks him out cold. Anyway, we're way off topic here. Anyway, so he's getting super frustrated. Scarlet Spider's here. He's the real Spider-Man, so he's like, you know what? You take the mantle. So he was out of the picture, and then we have Scarlet Spider, which I really liked Scarlet Spider. I like the character of Scarlet Spider because it brought back the having more fun with being a superhero, which replaced the darkness that was slowly encompassing Peter Parker's life. He used the alias Ben Reilly, which is Uncle Ben, and Aunt May's maiden name was Riley. So he was using that, and it was good. I enjoyed it, but then he got in a fight with a cybernetic clone of him, a clone of a clone of a clone. I don't know. Anyway, so he got a bad rap. So he retired the Scarlet Spider outfit and went to being Spider-Man, slightly different costume. And that's where I stopped liking this. It's like, I like who he was. I like the character. But I think they should have stuck to Scarlet Spider. I think that was better. I would have loved to see Scarlet Spider just continue on as in the role of Spider-Man. Even if it was a permanent thing. I think that would have been good. But to switch him over to being just a new Spider-Man just kind of lamed it out for me. Anyway. So his head is on a hinge, ball joint. You got the red paint or the red plastic with the spider lines, a little scuffed up here. Scuffs here. All in all, it looks good, but it's a little sloppy, I think. He's got a hinge, ab crunch, shoulders, the butterfly joints, up, down, around, double bend elbows. Elbows are definitely a little bit more gummy than before. I think this mold has seen about the end of its days, but we're going to probably see still like 10 more figures out of it. Hands rotate, hinge, waist swivel, ball joint, legs, which only go out that far, which I still say is not enough for Spider-Man. Thighs rotate, double bend knee, foot hinges, just like that. Alright, so now he does come with these two arms for Absorbing Man. Again, I'm not interested in Absorbing Man. When I'm done buying the characters from the wave that I want, if anybody needs those parts, let me know, and I will be happy to give them to you. You just have to pay shipping or whatever. But I have absolutely no interest in collecting the whole set, so I'm only going to get the Venom, the Morbius, and Jack-O-Lantern from the waves for the rest of the wave. That's it. So whatever comes with those guys will be free to whoever. Like all the other Spider-Man, he does come with the stick to the ground, posing hands, and then the web shooter hands, so you can flip those out however you want to. But then he comes with something even better. So start by pulling his head off, and you guys already know what's coming, but I thoroughly love this because I had a back in when I was really young, I had a Spider-Carnage figure, and he was made out of like this translucent red plastic, and it was absolutely awesome. It was probably one of my favorite figures. One of my uncles bought it for me that I hadn't seen for years, and he took me to the store and said, "Hey, why don't you go ahead and pick out some toys?" So I picked out Scarless, or the Spider-Carnage. And there you go. Now we have something different. Now we have something that's really, really cool. I know he only had this suit for a short period of time in the comics, which I've never read those ones, because as far as I'm concerned, Carnage's story arc truly ended here. Which I actually just have sitting by my desk because I love this book. That is the end of, for me, that is the end of the Carnage story arc. He didn't need to come back after that. Of course he did, because he sells books. But for me, that was the end of it. But anyway, in the animated show, he was the main villain of the final episode. Spider-Man had to fight a alternate universe Spider-Man, who was possessed by Carnage, and he made the Spider-Carnage. And this might be the closest thing I get to getting an actual Carnage figure, because the other one goes for an insane price, and I just don't have the energy to buy it. Yeah, absolutely awesome. I love this figure. If it was just the Ben Reilly Spider-Man, I don't know. I probably would have picked it up if I saw it in stores. I would not have ordered it. That's for sure. But as soon as they said, "Oh yeah, it's got the bits to make Spider-Carnage," I was like, bought in a second. That's what sold this figure for me. So while the figure is the same figure we've seen time and time, and I can't find him. I had him right here. And time again. We've seen it so many times. It's absolutely nothing new. The only thing that really sells it is the Carnage hands and head. So yeah. If you're a fan of Carnage or Spider-Carnage, this is a must-have. If you're a fan of the Ben Reilly Spider-Man, then yes. If you don't care about the clone saga, you don't care about the symbiote possessing people new people all the time, then don't get it. And if you're sick and tired of the same fucking mold over and over again, I mean, I can forgive it for Spider-Man just because they're all Spider-Man, but at the end of the day, it's just the same thing over and over and over and over again. It's as bad as Combiner Wars almost. At least this one, like I said, makes sense. Anyway, if you're a fan of those, then I'd say pick it up. If not, don't get it. But for a rating, I'm gonna give him an 8 out of 10. I think he's a pretty solid figure. Nothing new and exciting, but still really cool looking. And I thoroughly enjoyed Carnage back in the 90s. Don't even get me started with the nightmare that they put him into now. But yeah, back in the 90s, and this was a crossover that was through all the Spider-Man books. So it was one of the coolest things I've ever read in my life. I love goblins. So you got your goblin in there. You got a clone of Spider-Man back there. Well, it was the demonic version of Spider-Man. You got Carnage, Carry On, Shriek. This just was such a good book. And then the heroes. You got it anyway. Anyway, I know that really has nothing to do with this particular figure, but that's just why I'm a Carnage fan, and that's why I'm a Classics Carnage fan. You can modernize the character as much as you want, but I'm not going to like it because it's not the Carnage I grew up with. This is closer to the Carnage I grew up with. Small, skinny claws. That's it. And that face. Some of the more modern ones. Let me see. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. He's in this book somewhere. This is Avengers Breakout. Alright. So, there it is. That's not the Carnage I grew up with. It just doesn't. And I know things change, but it's just that. Find a good splash page here. That is not that to me. It just wasn't the same. So, anyway, I guess that's it. I know I totally rambled on there and ranted on other subjects, but anyway, now maybe you guys might know a little bit more about the Ben Reilly Spider-Man and Spider-Carnage, and maybe it'll get you to pick it up. Maybe it won't. Who cares, right?